The Mirabelle was not the kind of place where people cried. It was the kind of place where the air smelled like truffle oil and money, where a single glass of wine cost more than a week's rent. Waiters glided like shadows, and emotions were left outside with the coats. That's why when the billionaire at table 17 broke down, really broke down, tears shaking his shoulders like a child, it felt like the whole world stopped breathing. Anna Monroe was the first to see it. She froze halfway through pouring a glass of sparkling water, her hand trembling so slightly the bubbles in the glass quivered. The man across from her, Sebastian Hale, wasn't just rich. He was the Sebastian Hale, founder of Hale Technologies, a man whose signature could move the stock market. Tonight, he sat alone in a corner booth, a half-eaten steak growing cold, staring at something small on the white tablecloth. At first, Anna thought it was a napkin. Then she saw it. A porcelain doll, tiny, cracked, its painted smile chipped away by time. Its left arm dangled by a single thread, and the billionaire was holding it as if it were made of glass and heartbreak. "Sir," Anna whispered, unsure if she should approach. "Are you all right?" He didn't answer. His hand shook. Then, in a voice so raw it cut through the restaurant's hush, he said one word. "Clara." Anna blinked. "Excuse me." But he wasn't talking to her. His eyes were far away, looking at something or someone she couldn't see. Then, to the shock of every server, every diner, every pair of eyes that dared to look, Sebastian Hale began to cry. Not silent, dignified tears, but the kind of crying that comes from deep inside, where something has been buried too long. Gasps rippled through the room. Forks paused mid-air. The maitre d', pale as a ghost, hurried forward, whispering, "Mr. Hale, sir. Perhaps you'd like to—" Sebastian stood abruptly. The doll slipped from his grasp and hit the marble floor with a soft, dreadful crack. Anna flinched. Without thinking, she knelt and picked it up. The head had split clean in two. Her breath caught. "I can fix it," she said instinctively, even though she didn't know why. "I'm good with small things." Sebastian stared at her then, really looked at her, as if seeing her face for the first time. His eyes, grey and hollow, widened with recognition. Or maybe fear. "What did you say?" he asked. "I said, I can fix it." His lips parted, but no sound came out. Then his knees buckled. "Sir!" Anna cried, rushing forward as the billionaire collapsed to the ground. The room erupted in chaos, waiters shouting, someone calling for a doctor, flashes of cameras already appearing from nearby tables. Anna crouched beside him, heart pounding. His hand twitched, reaching toward her. His voice was barely a whisper, trembling and broken. "You have her eyes," he murmured. Her stomach turned to ice. "What?" But before she could ask again, his eyes rolled back, and he went still. The doll lay shattered between them, tiny shards glinting under the chandelier's light. Around them, the noise of the restaurant faded into a suffocating silence. For a moment, Anna could only stare at the man on the floor and the broken toy that had brought him there. Something about it, its delicate blue ribbon, the chipped porcelain cheek, felt achingly familiar. Her throat tightened. That same blue ribbon sat on the nightstand beside her bed, tied around a smaller version of the same doll. And in that instant, Anna realized this was no ordinary breakdown. It was the beginning of something that would change her life forever. Anna Monroe's life didn't look like much from the outside. A cracked phone, 2 uniforms hanging on a nail by the door, and an apartment that smelled faintly of instant coffee and rain. But for her, it was survival. The place was small, just one bedroom she shared with her younger brother, Jamie. He was 19, bright, too kind for the world. He worked nights at a gas station, trying to help with the bills, but most of the time, Anna made sure he didn't have to. She'd already lost enough family. "Hey, you home?" Jamie called from the couch, the TV flickering weakly against the peeling wallpaper. Anna dropped her purse by the door and exhaled. "Barely," she muttered, kicking off her shoes. He looked up from his homework, concern written across his tired face. "You're late again. Double shift?" "Triple," she said, collapsing into the armchair. "And the dishwasher broke, so I spent half the night elbow deep in someone's half-eaten risotto." Jamie grimaced. "Sounds glamorous." "Living the dream," she said with a hollow laugh. Her eyes drifted to the small wooden shelf above the TV. Sitting there, under a thin layer of dust, was a porcelain doll. Tiny, fragile, its painted cheek chipped and its left arm missing. It had been their mother's once, a keepsake from her own childhood. Anna used to think it was the ugliest thing she'd ever seen. Now it was priceless. Their mother, Laura, had died 5 years ago from a sudden heart condition. No warning, no goodbyes, just gone. After that, everything had cracked a little. The laughter, the light in the house, even the future. Jamie followed her gaze. "You still keep that thing around, huh?" "She's not a thing," Anna said softly. "Mom loved her." "Yeah, but it's creepy. Looks like she's staring at me." Anna smiled faintly. "That's because you never dust her." He rolled his eyes, but there was affection behind it. They didn't have much left of their mother, just that doll and a handful of photos. In one, Laura was laughing, sunlight in her hair, holding the same porcelain toy. The arm was already missing back then. Anna sometimes wondered why her mom had kept it broken all those years. Maybe because fixing it meant admitting it had been damaged. She knew something about that. "Jamie," she said quietly, "what if things could change? Like, really change?" He looked confused. "What do you mean?" She hesitated. The memory of the billionaire collapsing flashed through her mind. The way he'd stared at her, the way he'd said, "You have her eyes." It hadn't left her since. "Nothing," she said quickly, shaking it off. "Just tired." But sleep didn't come easy that night. When she finally crawled into bed, her brain replayed the scene at the Mirabelle again and again. The doll, his tears, the name he'd whispered. Clara. At some point, she got up and pulled the old doll from the shelf. Under the dim light, its cracked porcelain gleamed softly. She turned it over in her hands, running her thumb along the broken edge where the arm used to be. Inside, she noticed something she'd never paid attention to before. Tiny letters etched into the porcelain base. They were faded, but still legible. LMH. Her pulse quickened. Laura Monroe Hale. That couldn't be right. Hale. The same name the maitre d' had said at the restaurant. The billionaire, Sebastian Hale. Anna's hands began to shake. Coincidence? It had to be. Her mom had never mentioned anyone named Hale, never talked about a man like that. But the letters were there. Real. Solid. A truth she hadn't known she was holding all along. She set the doll down carefully, her thoughts spinning like a storm. And for the first time, Anna wondered if her mother's past and her own future were about to collide in a way she wasn't ready for. Every night at the Mirabelle felt like stepping into another universe, a world where light came from chandeliers worth more than her entire building, and conversations floated like smoke, soft, expensive, and full of secrets. Anna had worked there for almost 2 years, but she still felt like an intruder in someone else's dream. Every shift began the same. Clock in, fix your hair, smile until your cheeks ache, and pretend you belong. She tied her black apron, smoothed her shirt, and caught her reflection in the mirror near the kitchen. The fluorescent light made the purple shadows under her eyes look even darker. "You good?" her co-worker Maggie asked, balancing a tray of champagne flutes. Maggie was 30 and burned out, but she had the dry humor of someone who'd seen it all. "Define good," Anna muttered. Maggie grinned. "Still breathing? Still broke?" "Then yeah, I'm fantastic." They both laughed, the kind of laugh that wasn't funny but necessary. From the kitchen, Chef Paolo shouted something in Italian, and the air filled with the smell of garlic and seared steak. The Mirabelle's dining room glittered on the other side of the swinging door. Candlelight shimmered on silverware. A soft jazz trio played in the corner, their notes weaving through the murmur of wealthy guests discussing stock portfolios and vacation homes in Tuscany. To them, this was ordinary life. To Anna, it was theater. At table 12, a couple argued in whispers over a $900 bottle of wine. At table 9, a hedge fund manager bragged about firing 50 people before dessert. Anna had learned to tune it all out, the greed, the power, the casual cruelty. It was just background noise to the sound of clinking glasses. She focused on movement, the rhythm of refilling water, replacing cutlery, clearing plates. Precision was everything. Mess up once, and someone like her became the story the guests laughed about on their private jets. "Hey, Monroe," said Kevin, the maitre d', gliding past with his perfect smile. "Table 17 is yours tonight. VIP." Her stomach sank. "You mean him?" Kevin nodded. "Mr. Hale. He's back." Anna froze. The name hit like a jolt of electricity. Sebastian Hale, the man who'd cried over the broken doll 2 nights ago. She hadn't seen him since. After the paramedics came, she'd given her statement and been told to go home. Management had tried to sweep it under the rug, insisting it was a private incident. But now he was here, again. "Maybe he doesn't remember me," she said quietly. Kevin raised an eyebrow. "You're unforgettable, Monroe. Don't screw it up." He walked off, leaving her heart hammering. Anna took a deep breath, grabbed her notepad, and stepped into the dining room. Sebastian Hale sat in the same corner booth, back straight, eyes fixed on the window overlooking the city skyline. He looked different tonight. Paler, thinner, but composed. The table was empty, except for a glass of water and a single napkin folded with surgical precision. She approached slowly. "Good evening, Mr. Hale." He looked up, and for a split second, something flickered behind his calm expression. Recognition, maybe, or pain. "Miss Monroe," he said softly, "you're still here." His voice was low, steady, but it sent a chill down her spine. "Yes, sir. I didn't expect to see you again." "Neither did I," he replied, glancing at the empty chair across from him. "But life has a strange way of repeating itself." Anna swallowed. The air between them felt charged, heavy with something unspoken. "Would you like to see the specials tonight?" she asked, forcing professionalism back into her tone. He smiled faintly, but it wasn't warmth, it was exhaustion. "No, thank you. Just coffee." She nodded and turned toward the kitchen, but his voice stopped her. "Tell me," he said quietly. "Do you still have it?" She froze. "Have what?" "The doll, the fool." Anna's breath caught in her throat. She turned back slowly, her heart thudding in her chest. He didn't blink. His grey eyes were locked on hers, unreadable. The world around them blurred, the clinking of glasses, the music, the laughter. It was just them. And for the first time, Anna realized this wasn't about a broken toy. It was about something far more fragile, something she didn't yet understand. The first time Anna had ever seen Sebastian Hale, she'd thought he looked like a man carved out of winter itself, elegant, cold, and utterly unreachable. Tonight, that impression felt stronger than ever. As she poured his coffee, she could feel his eyes on her. Not with desire or judgment, but with something quieter, something searching. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice a low rumble that made her fingers tighten around the pot. She nodded. "Of course, sir." He took a slow sip and set the cup down carefully, as if every movement carried weight. "You must think I'm insane." The words caught her off guard. "Excuse me." "That night," he said, his gaze never leaving the table, "when I lost control. The doll, the tears. I imagine the entire staff had quite a story to tell." Anna hesitated. "People talked, sure. But I didn't." He looked up. "Why not?" didn't seem right, she said simply. It wasn't gossip, it was grief. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then, unexpectedly, a small, humorless laugh escaped him. Grief? Yes. I suppose that's what's left when everything else has been taken. Anna's curiosity fought with caution. She wanted to ask what had been taken, but she'd learned long ago that questions like that could get a waitress fired. So she just said softly, I'm sorry for whatever happened. His expression flickered, the faintest crack in the armor. You remind me of someone, he said. Your daughter? She guessed before she could stop herself. He froze. His knuckles whitened on the porcelain cup. How did you— The night you fainted, she interrupted quickly. You said a name. Clara. I just assumed. His face drained of color. Clara was my wife. Anna swallowed. Oh. He stared past her, into the dark window where the city lights shimmered like ghosts. She and our daughter died 20 years ago. A car crash on the Hudson Bridge. They told me it was instant. His voice trembled slightly, a man who hadn't spoken the words in decades. I built an empire trying not to think about it. Anna didn't know what to say. She wanted to offer comfort, but how do you comfort a man who owns half the skyline? I'm sorry, she said again, quietly. He nodded once. It's strange, he continued. After all this time, I thought the world had taken everything that could hurt me. Then I saw that doll, and you. Her heart skipped. Me. He studied her face, and for the first time she saw the faintest glimmer of vulnerability in his eyes. Your expression, the way you held it. For one impossible second I thought I was looking at my daughter. The air between them went still. Anna could hear the faint hum of the jazz trio, the clinking of distant glasses, the laughter of strangers who lived untouched by pain. She wanted to tell him he was mistaken, that she was nobody, just a tired waitress trying to make rent. But she couldn't move, because deep down, something about his words didn't feel wrong. She opened her mouth, searching for something, anything to break the spell. Maybe you just saw what you wanted to see. Sebastian's lips twitched, but it wasn't a smile. Perhaps, he said softly, but I can't shake the feeling that the universe is trying to tell me something, and it's using you to do it. Anna forced a nervous laugh. That's a lot of pressure for a waitress. He looked at her again, and this time there was no mistaking it. The intensity, the sorrow, the quiet recognition of something that shouldn't exist. Maybe, he said slowly. You're more than that. Her pulse quickened. What does that mean? He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled something small and glinting from within. A photograph, folded and worn by time. Because if I'm right, he whispered, sliding it across the table, you're the reason I'm still alive. Anna stared at the photo, her stomach twisted. It was her mother, smiling, young, and holding that same broken doll. And in that instant, the cold, unreachable billionaire wasn't a stranger anymore. He was the key to a past Anna never knew existed. Anna stared at the photograph like it was a ghost. Her fingers trembled as she lifted it. The image was faded, but unmistakable. Her mother, Laura, smiling in sunlight, the same doll clutched in her hands. Behind her stood a man whose face was partly shadowed, but even in the dim outline, Anna saw it. The sharp jaw, the intense eyes. Sebastian Hale. She looked up slowly. Where did you get this? He didn't blink. That photo was taken in 2004. It was the last picture I ever had of my wife and daughter before the crash. Anna's throat tightened. Your wife and daughter? Yes. Clara Hale and our little girl, Lila. He paused, his voice cracking for the first time. My daughter would be about your age now? The restaurant felt suddenly too bright, too exposed. Anna could feel the curious glances of other diners, men in tailored suits, women draped in diamonds, turning toward them. She whispered, "Mr. Hale, people are staring." "Let them," he said, his tone sharp but trembling underneath. "Do you understand what I'm saying? That picture shouldn't exist in your family. It was in our home before the accident. There's no way—" "Please," she interrupted, lowering her voice. "I don't know how my mom could have it. She never even mentioned you." The sound of breaking porcelain snapped both of them out of the moment. A waiter had dropped a plate nearby. Heads turned. The murmurs began. Sebastian stood abruptly, the chair scraping loud against the marble floor. "She never mentioned me?" His voice echoed through the restaurant, low but fierce. Anna froze. "Sir, please, you're making a scene." The maitre d' hurried forward, panic in his eyes. "Mr. Hale, if you'd like, we can move you to the private room." But Sebastian wasn't listening. His hand slammed the photo on the table. "You think I'm crazy, don't you? Everyone does." 20 years of silence, and now the universe throws me a waitress with my daughter's face and my wife's photograph. "Stop," Anna whispered, her voice shaking. "You're scaring me." He blinked, suddenly realizing what he was doing. His shoulders slumped. "I didn't mean to." But it was too late. Phones were already out. The flashes began, tiny bursts of light in the dim restaurant. A woman near the bar whispered loudly, "Is that Sebastian Hale? What's he doing with that waitress?" Another voice, "He's crying again. God, look at him." Anna's heart pounded. She could feel the room closing in on them, the eyes, the judgment. "Mr. Hale," she said firmly, "you need to sit down." He shook his head, his eyes glassy. "I can't. Not until I know the truth." Then, in a sudden motion that made everyone gasp, he grabbed the photo from the table and held it up like evidence. "This woman," he said hoarsely. "This woman in the picture. Does anyone know her? Laura Munro. Someone must know that name." Anna's face went pale. "Stop it. That's my mother." The entire restaurant fell silent. He froze. The photo slipped from his fingers, fluttering to the floor. "Your mother," he whispered. "Laura Munro." Anna nodded slowly, tears filling her eyes. "Yes." His face went white as paper. He staggered back a step. "Oh my God," he breathed. "Laura didn't die." The maitre d' rushed to steady him, but Sebastian pushed away, his voice breaking apart. "She was alive this whole time. And she had you." The flashes came again, brighter this time. Someone yelled for security. Anna's hands trembled as she reached for him. "Please, just stop talking. People are filming." He looked at her, his grey eyes full of devastation. "You don't understand. If what I think is true, you're not just a stranger, Anna. You're—" He didn't finish. His body swayed, and before she could react, he collapsed again, his coffee cup shattering beside him. Screams erupted. The cameras kept rolling. Anna knelt beside him, her heart in her throat. And as paramedics rushed in, she realized the truth wasn't just breaking him. It was about to destroy everything she thought she knew about her own life. The video hit the internet before Anna even made it home. By midnight, every major news outlet was replaying the same 30-second clip. Billionaire Sebastian Hale shouting in a 5-star restaurant, clutching an old photograph, then collapsing to the floor while a young waitress tried to help him. The captions were cruel. Hale loses grip on reality. Waitress drama at the Mirabelle? Mental breakdown or hidden scandal? Anna's phone buzzed non-stop. Calls from co-workers, journalists, even strangers asking if she was the woman in the video. She didn't answer any of them. She just sat on the edge of her bed, watching the screen glow. Jamie stood in the doorway, pale and worried. "You're trending on Twitter," he said quietly. She laughed bitterly. "Great. Every girl's dream." "Anna, what happened? They're saying you were involved with him." She shook her head, running a hand through her hair. "I don't even know him, Jamie. I swear. He saw a photo of Mom and lost it." He frowned. "A photo of Mom? What are you talking about?" She hesitated, then reached into her bag and pulled out the folded picture Sebastian had shown her. Jamie took it carefully, his eyes widening as he looked at it. That's her, he whispered, but she looks younger. Yeah, and the guy next to her? Jamie squinted. That's him, the billionaire. Anna nodded slowly. He said Mom's name was Clara Hale, that she died with their daughter 20 years ago. Jamie stared at her like she'd just confessed to time travel. You think Mom was married to him? Before us? I don't know, she said, but there are initials on the doll. LMH, Laura Munro Hale. I checked again. Jamie rubbed his forehead. That's insane. Yeah, she whispered, but what if it's true? The sound of her phone buzzing again made them both jump. She picked it up, expecting another reporter. But it wasn't a random number. It was the Mirabelle. She hesitated before answering. Hello? Miss Munro, said a stiff voice she recognized. It was Kevin, the maitre d'. I'm calling to inform you that, effective immediately, you're suspended pending investigation. Her stomach dropped. What? Why? You caused a disruption during a high-profile guest's dining experience. The restaurant's reputation is at stake. He caused the disruption, she protested. He fainted. I was helping him. Kevin's tone was ice. I'm sorry, Anna. The owners want to distance themselves from the incident. You'll be contacted about your final paycheck. The line went dead. Jamie's face hardened. They fired you? She nodded numbly. Yeah, just like that. He paced the room. You saved that guy's life, Anna. He should be thanking you. She stared down at the photo in her lap. He might still be in the hospital. Then go see him, Jamie said firmly. What? No. After all that? The press is outside his house. His company's in chaos. He probably hates me now. Jamie shook his head. You said he looked at you like he knew you. If there's even a chance Mom was part of his past, don't you want answers? Anna was silent. The photo seemed to stare back at her. Her mother's smile, gentle, familiar, and suddenly full of secrets. Outside, the city hummed with life, unaware that hers was falling apart. She grabbed her coat and stood. If I do this, she said quietly, I might regret it. Jamie handed her the photo, or it might finally make sense. She nodded once, determination flickering through the fear. As she stepped into the cold night, flashes from the memory of the restaurant replayed in her mind. The doll, the tears, the way he'd said you have her eyes. And with that, Anna decided to face the man who had turned her world upside down, because somewhere inside his grief was the key to her own past. The next morning, the city felt colder than usual, as if the world itself had taken a deep breath and decided to hold it. Anna stood outside the towering glass hospital in Midtown, clutching a paper cup of coffee that had long gone cold. Her fingers wouldn't stop shaking. She'd barely slept. Her name was still everywhere online, dragged into headlines she didn't deserve. But none of that mattered now. She was here to see him. When she reached the reception desk, the nurse barely looked up. Name? Anna Munro, she said. I'm here to see Sebastian Hale. The nurse frowned. He's not taking visitors. Anna's heart sank. Please. I was there when he collapsed. I just want to know if he's okay. The nurse looked at her for a long moment, then sighed. Wait here. Anna stood by the window, watching taxis slide past in streaks of yellow. Her reflection stared back. Tired eyes, messy hair, a waitress pretending to belong in a billionaire's world. Miss Munro? She turned. A man in a dark suit stood behind her. Mid-40s, expensive everything, eyes sharp as glass. I'm David Lang, he said, extending a hand. Mr. Hale's personal attorney. She hesitated, shaking his hand carefully. Is he all right? He's stable, Lang replied. He regained consciousness early this morning. The doctors say exhaustion and stress were contributing factors. Relief flooded her chest. Thank God. Lang studied her quietly. He asked for you. Anna blinked. For me? He nodded. Follow me, please. They rode the elevator in silence. Every ding of a passing floor made her pulse race faster. When the doors opened, the air smelled faintly of antiseptic and rain. Lang led her down a quiet hallway until they stopped at a room with the blinds half drawn. Sebastian Hale was sitting upright in the bed, a faint heart monitor beeping beside him. He looked pale, but alert, his grey eyes fixed on the window. When he turned and saw her, something unspoken passed between them, a recognition that went deeper than logic. Miss Monroe, he said softly. You came. She stepped closer. I had to. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. A faint smile touched his lips. I've been better, but I've also been worse. She hesitated. You asked for me? Yes, he said, his tone suddenly serious. Because there are things I need to understand. Things only you can help me with. Anna pulled up a chair. Mr. Hale, I don't know how I fit into any of this. I'm just trying to make sense of it myself. He reached toward the nightstand and picked up the photograph, the same one from the restaurant. This picture. You said the woman in it is your mother. Yes, Anna whispered. Laura Monroe. He nodded slowly. And the child she was holding? Anna frowned. That was me. I was maybe 2 or 3. Sebastian's fingers tightened on the photo. You're sure? Positive. He closed his eyes, a tremor running through him. Then the story I've been told all these years is a lie. Anna leaned forward. What story? That they died, he said, opening his eyes again. That my wife and daughter were killed instantly. But if Laura, Clara, was your mother, he shook his head. Then she survived. And she ran. Ran from you? Anna asked quietly. He didn't answer right away. The silence that followed was heavy, filled with ghosts neither of them could see. Finally, he said, If that's true, Miss Monroe, then you're not a stranger to me. You're blood. Her breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying, he whispered, you might be my daughter. The words hit her like a physical blow. Her vision blurred, her pulse roaring in her ears. She stumbled to her feet, shaking her head. No, that's impossible. He met her eyes, pain and certainty mingling in his expression. Is it? He said softly. And in that sterile white room, surrounded by machines that measured heartbeats and breath, Anna realized the truth might be far more dangerous than she ever imagined. 3 days later, a black car pulled up to the curb outside Anna's apartment. It looked wildly out of place among the cracked sidewalks and flickering streetlights. Jamie peered through the window. Anna? Why is there a limo outside? Before she could answer, a sharp knock echoed at the door. She opened it to find David Lang, the same attorney from the hospital, standing there in another immaculate suit. Miss Monroe, he greeted, his voice polite but firm. Mr. Hale would like to speak with you, privately. Anna blinked. Now? He nodded. If possible. He's asked that I bring you to his estate. Jamie stepped forward. Hold on. She's not going anywhere with some lawyer she barely knows. Lang turned to him, expression unreadable. Your sister will be safe. I assure you, this isn't a threat. It's an invitation. Anna looked between them. Her pulse fluttered in her throat. She thought about the photograph, the initials on the doll, the way Sebastian's eyes had filled with grief and recognition. Give me 10 minutes, she said quietly. Lang inclined his head. Of course. When the car door shut behind her, the city began to blur by in streaks of light. For the first 10 minutes, she said nothing. Neither did Lang. Then curiosity won. What does he want from me? She asked. Lang's gaze stayed on the road. Closure, I imagine. Answers. Maybe both. She frowned. And if he's wrong? Then you walk away. Simple as that. But Anna knew nothing about this was simple. The car turned off the main road and wound through a long, tree-lined drive. When the mansion came into view, she forgot to breathe. The Hale estate wasn't a house. It was a monument. Stone walls stretched endlessly, windows glowing like eyes in the dusk. Iron gates swung open at their arrival, and the car rolled to a stop before a grand staircase of white marble. Lang opened her door. "He's waiting inside." The moment she stepped into the foyer, the air changed. Everything smelled faintly of cedar and old money. The floors gleamed, reflecting crystal chandeliers. Every corner was curated, precise, untouched. But beneath the perfection, there was something else. Loneliness. Sebastian Hale stood near the grand piano, dressed in a dark sweater instead of his usual suit. He looked smaller here somehow, dwarfed by his own empire. "Anna," he said softly. She hesitated by the doorway. "You shouldn't call me that. Not until we know." He nodded, accepting that. Fair enough. She took in the room, the tall shelves, the photographs in silver frames, the heavy silence. Her gaze snagged on one image resting above the fireplace. A woman laughing in a sunlit garden, holding a little girl with a porcelain doll. Her heart clenched. "That's her," Sebastian said, noticing her stare. "Clara, my wife." Anna stepped closer. "She looks like Mom." "She was your mother," he said quietly. "Or at least that's what I believe." Anna turned toward him, anger flashing through the confusion. "Belief isn't proof. You can't just walk into my life and decide who I am." He met her glare without flinching. "Then help me find out. I've already arranged a DNA test. It'll take 2 days." She folded her arms. "You really think I'll just agree to that?" "I don't think," he said. "I hope." Something about the way he said it, soft, almost pleading, made her chest tighten. She glanced around again. The house felt like a museum of someone else's grief. Empty halls, silent rooms, memories frozen in frames. "This place is sad," she murmured. He exhaled. "It's been sad for a long time." When she finally looked back at him, there was something raw in his eyes. Something human. "I don't know what to believe," she admitted. "Neither do I," he said. "But we owe it to them, to the people we lost, to find out." Outside, thunder rumbled over the estate. And as the storm rolled in, Anna realized the answers she'd come for might not heal anyone. They might destroy them both. The storm outside pounded against the windows, lightning flashing across the Hale mansion, like the flicker of old memories, refusing to die. Anna followed Sebastian through a long hallway, lined with portraits. Each frame held a story she didn't know, faces she almost recognized but couldn't place. The air smelled faintly of varnish and something older, dust, wood polish, grief. He stopped before a heavy oak door at the end of the hall. "This room belonged to my daughter," he said quietly. "I haven't opened it in 20 years. Anna hesitated. "Are you sure you want to?" His jaw tightened. "No, but I think we have to." He pushed the door open. The hinges groaned in protest, the sound echoing through the empty house. The room beyond was frozen in time. Soft yellow wallpaper, a bookshelf full of children's stories, a tiny bed draped in faded pink fabric. On the dresser sat a porcelain doll, whole, unbroken, but eerily identical to the one Anna had grown up with, the same blue ribbon tied neatly around its neck. Her breath caught. "Oh my God." Sebastian stepped inside slowly, like a man walking through a dream. His fingers brushed over the dresser, the books, the doll. "Lila's room," he whispered. "We left it untouched after the accident. I couldn't bring myself to—" He stopped, swallowing hard. Anna picked up a small picture frame from the nightstand. It showed a smiling little girl sitting in the grass beside a woman with chestnut hair. Her mother's hair. "That's her," Sebastian said softly behind her. "Clara. My wife." Anna stared at the photo, her voice shaking. That's Mum. That's Laura. Or Clara. Whatever her name really was. He turned toward her, pain etched into every line of his face. She never told you about me? No, Anna said. She told me my father died before I was born. She said he was kind and smart, and that I got my eyes from him. Sebastian let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. She wasn't wrong. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the dust motes swirling between them. Anna set the photo down and crossed her arms. If what you're saying is true, why would she lie? Why would she run? He exhaled slowly, as if bracing himself against a truth he'd carried for years. Because she was afraid. Of what? Of me, he admitted. Of what I was becoming. Anna frowned. You mean the money? The business? The obsession, he said. I wanted control over everything. Our company, our image, even our future. She hated that life. She begged me to slow down, to be present, to be human. I couldn't. And one night, after another fight, she took Lila and left. Anna's chest tightened. And you thought they died? He nodded. The car that went off the Hudson Bridge. Everyone said it was them. The registration matched. The bodies were unrecognizable. I accepted it. Or at least I tried to. She sank onto the edge of the little bed, feeling the weight of a story too heavy for one room. So she didn't die. She changed her name and raised me somewhere you'd never look. Yes, he paused, and she never wanted me to find you. Anna stared down at her hands. They were trembling. I don't know what to feel, she said. Angry, betrayed, relieved. Whatever you feel, he said gently. You're allowed. For a long moment, they sat in silence. Thunder rolled across the sky, shaking the windows. Finally, Anna looked up. You really think a DNA test is going to fix all this? No, he said, meeting her eyes. But it might tell us whether this pain was meant to find its way home. She looked around the room one last time. The doll, the photographs, the faint ghost of a childhood she never lived. And as she followed him out, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that the past wasn't just resurfacing. It was warning her that something far darker was still buried beneath it. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the tall windows of the Hale mansion, slicing through the dust like blades of truth. Anna sat at the long dining table, her hands clasped tightly around a cup of untouched tea. Across from her sat Sebastian, looking far less like the billionaire she'd seen in headlines, and more like a man who hadn't slept in years. Between them lay a small plastic kit, sterile, clinical, terrifying in its simplicity. A DNA test. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked quietly. Anna nodded. You said you wanted proof, so let's get it. He studied her face for a moment, his eyes softening. You remind me of her, the way you don't hesitate. Mom always said hesitation gets you nowhere, she said. Guess that's one thing I inherited. They both fell silent. The air was thick with tension and something unspoken. Hope, fear, maybe both. David Lang entered the room carrying a folder. The lab's ready. I'll have the samples delivered immediately after collection. Anna took the swab in her hand. It felt absurd, almost laughable, that a piece of cotton could decide whether her entire life had been a lie. She brushed it inside her cheek, sealed it, and set it aside. Sebastian did the same. Lang took the envelopes and left without another word. And just like that, the waiting began. Sebastian leaned back in his chair. You said your mother told you your father died before you were born. Anna nodded. She said he was an engineer, that he built bridges. Kind of ironic now. He gave a faint, sad smile. She wasn't entirely lying. I did build things, not bridges though. More like walls. Anna's throat tightened. You loved her, didn't you? He looked down at his hands. She was the only person who ever saw through me. Everyone else wanted the empire, the power. Clara, She wanted the man underneath it. And when I stopped being that man, she left. Anna stared at him, searching his face. So what happens if the test says I'm not her daughter? That this was all just some twisted coincidence? He hesitated. Then I'll still feel like I found something I lost a long time ago, even if it isn't what I thought. For the first time, she believed him. The grandfather clock ticked in the corner, marking the slow crawl of hours. Outside, rain began to fall again, soft and steady. I keep thinking about her, Anna said quietly. If she really was your wife, then she lied to both of us. Why? He took a long breath. Because she didn't trust me to love without control. I gave her everything money could buy, except peace. Anna looked around at the mansion, its gleaming silence, its perfection that felt like suffocation. Yeah, she murmured. I can see that. A faint knock broke the silence. A maid entered, carrying a silver tray with an envelope. This just arrived for Mr. Hale. Sebastian frowned. Already? Anna's heart leapt. That was fast. He nodded slowly. Expedited testing. I wanted answers. He picked up the envelope, his hands trembling slightly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The rain outside grew louder, drumming against the windows like a warning. Do you want to open it? He asked. Anna shook her head. You first. He tore the seal carefully, unfolded the paper, and read in silence. His eyes flicked across the lines once, then again, slower. Anna couldn't breathe. What does it say? He looked up at her, his voice breaking. It says, "You're my daughter." The room spun. The words hung in the air, heavy and impossible. Anna pushed back from the table, her chair scraping the floor. No, that can't. There's no way. Sebastian stood, his eyes glistening. Anna, She shook her head, stepping back. Don't say it. You're not my father. My mum. She would have told me. He reached out, but she pulled away. Why would she hide this from me? She whispered. He answered quietly, because she knew I'd never stop looking for you. And for the first time in her life, Anna realized that the truth she had been searching for might be the very thing that shattered everything she had left. Anna didn't remember walking out of the room, only the sound of her own heartbeat echoing in her ears. The mansion's hallways stretched endlessly, her reflection flashing in every polished surface as if mocking her. You're his daughter. You're his daughter. The words played on a loop she couldn't turn off. She stumbled into the rain-soaked courtyard, gulping for air. The sky was bruised with grey, heavy and cold. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Jamie, she answered, her voice trembling. Hey. Anna, what's wrong? You sound weird. She swallowed hard. The test came back. And? There was a pause long enough for the rain to fill it. He's my father, Jamie. It's real. Jamie didn't speak for a moment. Then softly, Holy hell. Yeah, she whispered. That about covers it. He exhaled. So what now? You move into the castle? Start wearing pearls? She almost laughed, but it caught in her throat. I don't want any of that. I just don't know what to do with this. Mum lied to us, Jamie. About everything. She probably had a reason, he said. You said he's rich, powerful. Maybe she was scared. Anna leaned against a stone pillar, the rain soaking through her hair. He said the same thing, that she was afraid of him. Do you believe him? She hesitated. I don't know. I saw the look in his eyes. He's not lying, but that doesn't mean he's innocent. There was another silence. Then Jamie said quietly, whatever you find out, just don't let them rewrite who you are. She closed her eyes. I won't. When she went back inside, Sebastian was waiting near the grand staircase. He looked as if he'd aged 10 years in an hour. "Anna," he said carefully. "I didn't mean to hurt you." She crossed her arms. "You didn't. The truth did." He nodded. "I suppose that's fair." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then she asked, "Why didn't you look for us harder, if you loved her so much?" He sighed. "I did, for years. I hired investigators, spent millions, but after the accident report, I had nothing left to follow. Eventually, I gave up." "People like you don't give up," she said bitterly. His eyes met hers. "People like me do, when they've lost the only thing worth fighting for." The words hit harder than she wanted to admit. She looked away. "You think saying that makes up for 20 years? "No," he said softly. "But maybe it's a start." He gestured toward a small study. "There's something you should see." She followed him reluctantly. The room was smaller, warmer, lined with old books and photographs. He handed her a folder from the desk. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all addressed to Clara Hale. Each envelope was unopened. "I wrote to her," he said, "every month for the first 5 years. They all came back. Address unknown." Anna traced the faded ink with her fingertips. "She really wanted to disappear." "She did," he murmured. "But she couldn't erase you. Not from me." Anna sat down, her legs shaking. "You know, I always thought my mom was this open, honest person. Turns out she built a whole other life before me." Sebastian knelt beside her. "She was protecting you. Maybe from me. Maybe from what my world does to people." She looked at him then. Really looked. For the first time, she saw not the billionaire, not the stranger, but a man who had been hollowed out by loss and left to live inside his own shadow. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, the broken half of the porcelain doll. "I kept this," he said. "It was found in the wreckage. I couldn't throw it away." Anna's breath caught. "I have the other half." Their eyes met, the silence heavy with realization. And for a moment, father and daughter sat across from each other. Two people bound not by wealth or blood, but by the same broken thing that had survived them both. That night, the wind howled around the mansion like something alive. Anna couldn't sleep. The house seemed to breathe with her, its old bones creaking with every gust. Somewhere down the hall, a clock ticked steadily, marking the seconds of a life that suddenly didn't belong to her anymore. She found herself wandering, barefoot, through the dim corridors until she reached the study again. The broken half of the porcelain doll still lay on the desk where Sebastian had left it. Its smooth surface caught the light from the fireplace, a cruel reminder of everything fractured between them. "Couldn't sleep?" His voice came softly from the doorway. Anna turned. Sebastian stood there, a glass of whiskey in his hand, his shirt sleeves rolled up, looking less like a billionaire and more like a tired man carrying too many ghosts. "No," she said. "Too many things in my head. I keep thinking about her." "Your mother," he said quietly. "Clara." "Laura," she corrected instinctively, then sighed. "God, I don't even know what to call her anymore." He came closer, setting the glass down beside the doll. "She was both, Clara Hale and Laura Monroe. 2 names, 1 woman. She changed hers. Maybe to protect you, maybe to punish me." Anna studied him. "She must have loved you once?" "She did," he said. "And I loved her more than I knew how to show." "So what happened?" He looked into the fire, the reflection dancing in his eyes. "Ambition happened. I built a company, and in doing so I built walls between us. She said she didn't recognize the man I'd become. I told her I was doing it for her, for our daughter. But what she wanted wasn't money or power. She wanted me to come home before dark, to read bedtime stories, to be present. And you couldn't?" "I didn't know how," he said simply. Anna swallowed, her anger fading into something sadder. "So she took me, and disappeared." "Yes." His voice was raw, "and I deserved it." They stood in silence. the fire crackling softly. Finally, Anna said, "You know what's crazy? I'm angry at her, and you at the same time. She lied, but she was also the only person who ever really took care of me. And now you're here, asking me to believe that I'm part of this world." She gestured around the room, at the gold-framed paintings, the marble fireplace, the life that felt like someone else's movie. "I don't belong here." Sebastian stepped closer. "You belong wherever truth takes you." She looked at him sharply. "You make it sound easy." "It's not," he said. "But pretending is worse. I've done that for 20 years. The storm outside intensified, rain lashing against the windows like an angry heartbeat. Sebastian's voice softened. "Anna, I know I can't undo the past, but I want to know you, not as a name on a test, but as my daughter. Let me try to be part of your life." She crossed her arms, unsure. "You think one conversation and a DNA test make us family?" "No," he admitted, "but maybe it's the first stone in a bridge that should have never collapsed." She stared at him for a long time, torn between fury and longing. "You're good with words, you know that?" He smiled faintly. "When I finally have something worth saying." She turned toward the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. "You really think she wanted to protect me from you?" He hesitated, then said softly, "I think she wanted to protect you from the world I created." Thunder rumbled overhead, shaking the floor. Anna picked up the broken doll, holding it carefully in her hands. "Maybe she couldn't fix everything," she whispered. "But she tried." He nodded, voice thick. "And now, it's our turn." As lightning split the sky, Anna realized the storm wasn't just outside. It was inside both of them. And no matter how painful it got, some truths could only be cleansed by weathering it together. By morning, the storm had passed, but the world outside the Hale mansion was anything but calm. News vans lined the street beyond the iron gates. Reporters shouted questions through the rain, their cameras flashing like lightning. The headlines had already changed tone, from scandal to mystery. "Lost heiress discovered. Waitress turns out to be billionaire's daughter." Anna stood by the window, watching the chaos unfold. "They're out there for me," she said quietly. Sebastian joined her, his expression grim. "They're out there for both of us. The world loves a tragedy, until it becomes a fairy tale." She turned to him, frustration bubbling under her calm. "I didn't ask for this. I don't want to be anyone's fairy tale." He nodded slowly. "I know." But it was already too late. Her phone buzzed on the table. Unknown numbers, social media notifications, messages from old co-workers she hadn't heard from in years. Everyone suddenly wanted to know her, to claim a piece of her story. Jamie called again, and this time she answered. "Hey, you okay?" he asked. She sighed. "Define okay." He hesitated. "The news found me, Anna. They were parked outside the building all morning. Some guy tried to pay me for an interview." "What? No, Jamie, don't talk to them." "I told them to go to hell," he said, "but it's getting bad. They even found pictures of us, from Mom's funeral." Her stomach dropped. "They're digging." "Yeah," he said bitterly. "Welcome to the family." When the call ended, she turned to Sebastian, anger in her voice. "They're hounding my brother now. He didn't sign up for this." "I can handle it," he said. "Can you?" she shot back. "Because so far, everything your name touches turns into a headline." He flinched, then looked down. "You're right, and I'm sorry. I should have protected you better." "You can't protect me from this," she said, her voice breaking. "You can't protect me from what you are." The silence between them stretched, thick and heavy. Finally, Sebastian said, "There's a reason I built my walls so high. Every time someone gets close to me, they get burned. Your mother knew that." "She didn't want your money," Anna said quietly. "She wanted peace." He gave a sad smile. And now you're caught between the two worlds she tried to separate. Anna rubbed her temples. I'm not built for this. I don't care about mansions or cameras or legacy. I just want my life back. Then let me help you build a new one, he said. One that doesn't belong to the tabloids. She looked up, eyes sharp. And what about you? You still have a company to run, right? A reputation to defend? You really think your investors are going to love that their CEO's long-lost waitress daughter suddenly exists? He sighed. That's already a problem. Her stomach twisted. What do you mean? Some of the board members called an emergency meeting this morning. They think the story makes me unstable. They're pushing for me to take a leave of absence. Anna stared at him. Because of me? Because of me, he said firmly. Because I let this happen in public. But they'll make it about you. They'll say you're a distraction. She swallowed hard. Then maybe I should disappear again. His eyes flashed. Don't say that. Why not? She said. It worked for Mom. He shook his head. No, Anna. She ran to escape me. You don't have to. Not anymore. She turned back toward the window, watching the reporters swarm. You can't erase 20 years of lies overnight. No, he agreed quietly. But maybe we can rewrite the next 20 together. And for the first time, Anna realized that the truth had tied them together in ways neither of them could undo, and the price of that bond was only beginning to reveal itself. By the end of the week, the story had devoured everything. Every news channel, every gossip site, every business column, they all had something to say about Sebastian Hale and his secret daughter. Anna couldn't leave the mansion without cameras flashing in her face. Helicopters hovered over the estate like vultures, circling a wounded animal. She sat in the study one morning, scrolling through endless articles on her phone. Each headline felt like a slap. Waitress or heiress? Billionaire's breakdown leads to family bombshell. Mystery woman threatens Hale tech legacy. Her stomach churned. I told you not to look at that garbage, Sebastian said from the doorway. He looked exhausted. Suit jacket off, tie loosened, dark circles under his eyes. Hard not to when the entire world suddenly thinks I'm some gold-digging scandal, she said bitterly. You'd think they'd find a new story by now. He walked closer, lowering his voice. They will. It'll blow over. Will it? She shot back. Because right now, I'm the reason your stock price is falling and your board wants you gone. His silence was answer enough. Unbelievable, she muttered. I didn't ask for any of this, Sebastian. I didn't want your name or your fortune. He looked at her carefully. You have my blood, Anna. That comes with both. She turned away. Some inheritance. Just then, David Lang appeared in the doorway, a folder in hand and tension in his face. They've called another meeting, he said. This afternoon. Evelyn Marks is leading it. Sebastian's jaw tightened. Of course she is. Anna frowned. Who's Evelyn Marks? His tone darkened. My business partner. We built the company together. She's brilliant, ruthless, and she's been waiting for a reason to take control. Lang nodded. She's rallying investors, claims you're emotionally compromised. She's using the scandal as ammunition. Anna crossed her arms. So she's basically trying to destroy you. Sebastian gave a humorless smile. No, she's trying to save the company. From me. Anna stood. Then I'll tell them the truth, that this wasn't some scheme or publicity stunt. He shook his head quickly. No, that would only make it worse. They'll twist your words. Evelyn will make you look like a manipulator, a distraction. You'll lose before you even walk in. Frustration burned hot in her chest. So I just sit here and watch her tear you apart? His gaze softened. I've been torn apart before, Anna. I can handle it. But she saw the lie in his eyes, the weariness, the fear. He walked to the window, looking out over the grey horizon. For 20 years, this company was my life. Now, in 1 week, I've realized I traded everything that mattered for it. Anna's voice cracked. Then fight for it. For both. He turned to her slowly. You sound just like your mother. She blinked back tears. She'd tell you to stop running from your mistakes. I'm not running, he said quietly. I'm trying not to drag you down with me. Before she could answer, Lang's phone buzzed. He checked the screen and frowned. It's Evelyn. She's calling the press after the meeting. Anna's pulse quickened. What is she planning? Lang hesitated. She says she has evidence that Anna isn't who she claims to be. Anna's heart stopped. What? Sebastian's voice dropped to a growl. That's impossible. Lang looked uneasy. She claims to have documents, birth records, photos, proof that Anna Monroe falsified her connection to you. That's a lie, Anna said, panic rising. Sebastian clenched his fists. Then she's declaring war. He turned to Anna, his expression fierce. Stay here. Whatever happens today, don't talk to anyone. She shook her head. You can't face this alone. He hesitated. If I don't, we lose everything. The air between them thickened with dread, and as the car pulled away toward the board meeting, Anna realized that the truth hadn't set them free. It had only given their enemies something new to destroy. Anna paced the marble floor of the study, glancing at the clock every few minutes. Sebastian had been gone for hours. The mansion, once intimidating, now felt like a cage. Too quiet, too large, too full of shadows that whispered doubts she couldn't silence. David Lang had left for the meeting as well, leaving her under the watch of a few discreet security guards. She'd tried to distract herself by reading, by watching TV, but every channel, every headline, carried the same poison. Board showdown at Hale Tech, daughter or deception. Finally, she gave up and grabbed her phone, scrolling through the avalanche of notifications. One message stopped her cold. It was from an unknown number. Just 3 words. He's not safe. Before she could even process it, another message appeared, this one with a photo. It showed Sebastian walking into the glass conference building downtown, surrounded by reporters and flashbulbs. Beside him stood Evelyn Marks, elegant and poised, her hand lightly touching his arm, like she owned him. Anna's stomach twisted. Something about Evelyn's smile looked wrong, too calm, too rehearsed. Moments later, the photo was replaced by a short video clip. Evelyn at the podium, addressing a room full of investors. We at Hale Technologies believe in transparency, she said, her voice smooth, polished, which is why it's time the public knows the full story behind this supposed reunion. Anna turned up the volume, her pulse racing. She's not his daughter, Evelyn continued, her smile widening as the cameras flashed. We have proof. DNA evidence manipulated by a private lab, hired by Mr. Hale himself. Anna froze. No, she whispered. The video cut to chaos, reporters shouting questions, flashes blinding the screen. Sebastian stood beside Evelyn, visibly stunned, trying to speak but drowned out by noise. Evelyn leaned toward the microphone again. Mr. Hale has been under tremendous emotional strain, she said with mock concern. We believe he's been taken advantage of by a young woman seeking access to his wealth. It's tragic, really. Anna's hands began to shake. That lying, she didn't finish. Rage surged through her, hot and sharp. She grabbed her coat and stormed toward the door, ignoring the guards' protests. Miss Monroe, you can't leave, one of them said. Watch me. She pushed past them, every step fueled by adrenaline. Within minutes, she was in the back of a cab, the city lights blurring outside as the driver weaved through traffic. When she arrived at the headquarters, the crowd was a sea of flashing lights and raised microphones. She pushed through, ignoring the shouting. Inside, the air was electric with tension. Through the glass walls of the boardroom, she saw Sebastian standing alone at the center, his expression blank, surrounded by hostile faces. Evelyn stood at the head of the table, a queen delivering her victory speech. Anna burst through the door. Stop this! Every head turned. Cameras followed. Evelyn arched an eyebrow, composed as ever. Ah, the young lady herself. You're lying, Anna said, her voice trembling but loud enough to fill the room. You faked those results. Evelyn smirked. And what exactly are you accusing me of, dear? Manipulating science? Or manipulating him? Sebastian finally spoke. Enough, Evelyn. But she ignored him, her tone sugar-sweet. I admire your courage, Anna. Truly. But fairy tales don't last forever. Anna stepped forward. You don't care about him. You just want his company. Evelyn's eyes flashed. I built this company, long before you showed up with your sad little story. Sebastian's voice thundered. You built it with me, not over me. The room fell silent. Cameras clicked like gunfire. Anna looked at him, her voice soft but clear. You said you'd fight for both, remember? He met her gaze, and something inside him seemed to break free. Turning back to Evelyn, he said coldly, You just made the worst mistake of your life. And as security entered to escort the furious woman out, Anna realized that betrayal wasn't just about lies. It was about watching someone finally choose what side of the truth they belonged to. By the next morning, the internet had already chosen sides. Half the world was calling Anna a liar. The other half called her a victim. Hashtags trended. News anchors debated the scandal, while stock analysts speculated on the collapse of Hale Technologies. Sebastian Hale, the man who once seemed untouchable, was suddenly portrayed as unstable, reckless, a fallen king who had lost his empire to emotion. Anna watched it all unfold from the back seat of the car, her stomach in knots. The city outside blurred into grey. She and Sebastian hadn't spoken since leaving the boardroom. The silence between them felt like something fragile that might shatter with one wrong word. Finally, she said quietly, You shouldn't have defended me like that. He looked at her, his face unreadable. You think I regret it? I think Evelyn's not done. She'll go after you harder now. I know, he said, but if I didn't stand up then, I would have lost something worse than the company. Anna looked away. Your dignity? He shook his head. My daughter. Her throat tightened. She didn't answer. When they reached the mansion, the gates were swarmed with reporters. Security pushed them back as cameras flashed through the tinted windows. Inside, the quiet hit like a wave. Sebastian walked straight to his study, loosened his tie, and poured himself a drink. Lang called, he said. Evelyn's filed a motion with the board. She's demanding an emergency vote to remove me as CEO. Anna froze. Can she do that? She can try, he said, staring into his glass. And given the current headlines, she'll probably win. She sank into a chair. Then what happens to you? He gave a humorless laugh. I become a very rich man with no purpose. The phone on his desk rang, shrill and insistent. He ignored it. Sebastian, she said softly, what if she's right about one thing? He turned. Which part? That I've ruined everything. He put the glass down sharply. Don't say that. It's true, she said, voice trembling. Before I showed up, your life was perfect. You had control. Now you're on the front page of every paper. Your company's falling apart and people think I'm some scam artist. He walked over, his voice firm. I built that company on ambition and arrogance. You didn't ruin me, Anna. You reminded me what mattered before I forgot. Tears stung her eyes. And what's that? He smiled faintly. Family. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then the phone rang again. This time he answered. Lang, he said, voice clipped. Yes, I saw the coverage. He paused, listening. His expression darkened. What do you mean? Leaked documents? Anna's heart dropped. Sebastian's knuckles whitened around the phone. That's impossible, he snapped. Those were sealed court records. He hung up and turned to her, his face pale. Evelyn got access to the old police report from the car crash, the one that said your mother and my daughter died on impact. Anna blinked. But we know that's wrong. She's using it to prove that you can't be Lila. She's claiming Laura Monroe was an imposter who forged documents to steal my wife's identity. Anna's head spun. That's insane. She's betting the media will believe the story before the truth catches up, he said grimly. And right now, they already do. He sat heavily at his desk, burying his face in his hands. This is what I've done. Brought you into my world, and now it's tearing you apart. Anna stepped closer. Then let me help you fix it. He looked up, eyes weary. I don't know if it can be fixed. She shook her head. We'll prove it. Somehow. We'll find something she doesn't know about. Something only Mom could have left behind. He studied her for a long moment, the faintest spark of hope returning to his eyes. And as thunder rumbled again in the distance, Anna realized this fight wasn't just for his name. It was for her mother's truth, and for the life neither of them had ever truly known. 2 days later, Anna couldn't take the walls of the mansion anymore. Every ticking clock, every headline, every echo of the word fraud gnawed at her. Evelyn's lies had spread faster than truth ever could, and Sebastian's empire was crumbling under the weight of it. She packed a small bag and told him, I need to go somewhere. Alone. He looked at her carefully. Where? Home, she said. If Mom left anything behind, it's there. He hesitated, but didn't stop her. Be careful, Anna. Evelyn won't rest until she's erased you completely. I've been erased once before, she said quietly. Not this time. The bus ride back to her old neighborhood felt surreal. The city lights gave way to cracked sidewalks and rusted fences, to the smell of old rain and fried food. Her childhood apartment looked smaller now, as if it had shrunk in her absence. Inside, everything was still the same. Dusty picture frames, chipped paint, the faint scent of her mother's perfume clinging to the air. Jamie wasn't home. A note on the counter said he'd gone to work a late shift. Anna moved slowly through the living room, her fingers tracing old memories. There were boxes she'd never opened after her mother died, sealed with yellowed tape. She knelt beside one and peeled it open. Inside were letters, receipts, photos, and at the bottom, wrapped in faded fabric, a wooden jewelry box. She opened it. There it was, the missing half of the porcelain doll, the one her mother had kept hidden all these years. Anna's breath caught as she lifted it. The doll's arm, chipped but intact, had something carved into the porcelain near the shoulder. She wiped the dust away and saw it, engraved letters. So faint, she almost missed them. Lila H. Her hands shook. Lila Hale, she whispered. Her mother hadn't just kept a reminder of the past. She'd kept proof. She set the doll pieces together, fitting them perfectly. The halves clicked into place, as if they had been waiting to reunite all this time. Beneath the lining of the box, she found something else. A folded note, yellowed with age. Her mother's handwriting danced across the paper. If you ever find this, it means the truth has reached you. I didn't run because I stopped loving him. I ran because I wanted you to grow up free. Sebastian was a good man once, but his world was not safe for a child. Forgive me for hiding. I just wanted you to live. Tears blurred the ink as Anna read the last line. The doll will tell him who you are. It's the only thing that survived the fire. Anna pressed the letter to her chest. For the first time, the weight of her mother's silence made sense. She hadn't been escaping love. She'd been protecting it. She snapped a photo of the doll and the engraving, then called Sebastian. He answered on the first ring. His voice was rough. Anna? I found it, she said breathlessly. The other half. And a note. Mom left proof. She wanted you to know. There was a long silence. Then he exhaled shakily. Send me a picture. She did. Moments later, his voice broke through again. That's her handwriting. There's no doubt now. Anna's tears finally came, unstoppable. She wanted us to find each other, even if it took 20 years. Sebastian's tone softened. You've just given us everything we need to fight back. Anna wiped her eyes. Then let's finish this. For her. As she packed the doll and the letter into her bag, A faint smile touched her lips for the first time in weeks. Because now she had something Evelyn Marks didn't. A piece of truth too real to be denied, born from the love of a mother who had never truly left. When Anna returned to the Hale mansion, the sky was the color of bruised steel. Reporters still hovered outside the gates, but this time she didn't care. She carried the box close to her chest like something sacred. Inside were the two halves of the doll, now whole again, and the letter that could clear everything. Sebastian met her at the door before she could knock. His expression was tight, restless, desperate for hope. "Did you bring it?" She nodded and handed him the box. "The doll, Mom's handwriting, her initials. It's all there." He opened it with shaking hands. The moment his eyes fell on the engraving, Lila H., he let out a sound somewhere between a sob and a sigh. "It's her," he whispered. "It's really her." Anna placed the letter on the desk. "You should read it." He unfolded the fragile paper, eyes tracing every word. The firelight flickered across his face as he reached the last line. His hand trembled. "She never stopped loving us," he said softly. "She just didn't know how to live with who I'd become." Anna watched him carefully. "She wanted you to have peace. She thought running was the only way to give it to me." He nodded slowly, still staring at the letter. And she was right, in her way. But now Evelyn's made sure the world believes the opposite. We'll have to show them what's real. "How?" Anna asked. He looked up, a spark of resolve igniting in his eyes. "By letting the truth speak for itself. Tomorrow morning, there's a press conference at headquarters. I want you there." "Sebastian, the media already hates me. Then let them see you for who you are. Not a scandal, not a liar. My daughter." She hesitated, the thought of standing in front of hundreds of cameras making her stomach twist. But then she looked at the doll, at the faint seam where the broken halves met, and she realized some things only healed when they were seen in the light. The next morning, the conference room at Hale Technologies was packed. Reporters filled every seat. Cameras lined the back wall. Evelyn Marks stood near the podium, her smile sharp as glass. She didn't notice Anna slip in behind Sebastian until it was too late. "Mr. Hale," Evelyn said coolly as the flashes began, "I hope you've come to make a public apology for the confusion your guest has caused." Sebastian stepped up to the microphone, calm but resolute. "Actually, Evelyn, I came to end it." Gasps rippled through the crowd as he placed the doll on the podium. "This," he said, voice steady, "was the only thing recovered from the wreck that supposedly killed my wife and daughter. For 20 years, I believed they were gone. But one half of this doll was with me, and the other," he glanced at Anna, "the other was hidden by the woman who raised my child in secret to keep her safe." Evelyn's smile faltered. "You expect us to believe this sentimental nonsense?" Sebastian ignored her. He lifted the letter. "This was written by Clara Hale, known later as Laura Monroe. Her words, her handwriting, her confession. Verified by experts this morning." The reporters erupted into murmurs. Cameras zoomed in on the letter. Evelyn's face drained of color. "You forged this." Anna stepped forward then, voice clear and trembling only slightly. "No, she did. Evelyn Marks forged the lab report that said the DNA test was fake. We have proof from the testing company. She paid them to alter the data." A wave of shock rippled through the room. Sebastian's voice dropped like thunder. "You used my grief to steal my company, and you used my daughter's name to do it." Security guards moved toward Evelyn as she sputtered, "This isn't over." "It already is," Anna said quietly. As Evelyn was escorted out, the flashes brightened, capturing every moment. And for the first time, Anna didn't look away, because the world finally saw her, not as a scandal, but as the missing piece of a story that was finally whole again. The press conference went viral within hours. Clips of Anna standing beside Sebastian replayed across every major network, the porcelain doll gleaming under the studio lights, the letter in her trembling hands. For once, The headlines weren't cruel. Truth restored. The lost Hale heiress. A family reunited after 20 years. But Anna barely read them. She didn't care about the fame or the vindication. What mattered was the quiet that came afterward, the silence that finally felt like peace. That evening, Sebastian found her sitting in the garden behind the mansion, the broken doll resting on her lap. The night air was cool and soft, scented with rain and jasmine. "You did well today," he said gently. She smiled faintly. "I almost threw up before walking on that stage." "Still, you were brave." "I wasn't brave," she said. "I was terrified." "That's usually what courage looks like," he replied, sitting beside her. For a moment, they just listened to the crickets. The house loomed behind them, golden light spilling from its windows. "So what happens now?" she asked. He exhaled slowly. "Evelyn's out. The board reinstated me temporarily, but I told them I'm done." Anna blinked. "You're stepping down?" He nodded. "I built that company for all the wrong reasons. It became a monument to everything I lost. It's time to build something else." "Like what?" He smiled faintly. "Something your mother would have been proud of." Anna tilted her head. "You mean something human?" "Exactly that." He paused, watching the stars fade behind a thin layer of cloud. "I've started a foundation," he said, "for children who've lost their families. I'm calling it Lila's Light." The name hit her chest like a heartbeat. "That was her nickname, wasn't it?" He nodded. "I used to call her that because she was the only light I had." Anna's throat tightened. "It's beautiful." "It's yours too," he said, "if you want it." She looked at him, startled. "Me? I want you to run it, or at least help shape it. You've lived what it means to lose everything and still find your way back. That's what these kids need. Someone who understands." She looked down at the doll in her lap, tracing its smooth surface. "You really trust me with that?" He smiled. "You're the only one I do." The night breeze carried the faint sound of laughter from the house, staff moving about, the distant hum of a piano someone was tuning. Life was returning to this place. "You know," she said softly, "Mum always said broken things are proof that something once mattered enough to be used." He chuckled. "She was right, and she'd be proud of you." Anna swallowed the lump in her throat. "I hope so." He reached over, placing a gentle hand on hers. "I know so." The silence that followed wasn't empty this time. It was full. After a while, she whispered, "You could have let Evelyn win. You could have walked away from all this." He smiled. "I thought about it. But then I realized walking away would have meant losing you again." She blinked back tears. "You don't get to say things like that." "I'll start crying." He laughed quietly. "Then cry. You've earned it." She did, softly, freely, for all the years that had been stolen, for the mother who'd loved her enough to hide, and for the father who'd finally learned how to stay. When she looked up, the first hint of dawn was breaking over the horizon. "Morning already?" she said, wiping her eyes. "Looks like it," he replied. "A new one." Anna smiled, the weight of 2 decades finally lifting. And as the sun rose over the Hale estate, she knew redemption wasn't about reclaiming a name. It was about rebuilding a life from the pieces love refused to let die. 1 year later, the Hale mansion didn't feel like a mausoleum anymore. Sunlight filled every room. Laughter echoed through the halls, and the smell of coffee and fresh bread drifted in from the kitchen. Anna had turned the West Wing into the headquarters of Lila's Light Foundation. The walls that once displayed oil portraits of business titans were now covered with children's drawings, stick figures holding hands, suns with semiling faces, hearts colored outside the lines. Every morning, she arrived early, long before the staff or volunteers. She'd make her coffee, open the windows, and stand for a while at the large picture window overlooking the garden. It was the same garden where she and Sebastian had talked that first quiet night after everything fell apart. Today was special. It marked 1 year since the press conference, the day the truth came home. Sebastian still lived in the house, though the sharp edges of his old life had softened. He wore sweaters instead of suits now. He took his coffee with honey. He'd become a fixture at the foundation, reading to the kids, fixing toys, learning how to laugh again. Anna found him there now, kneeling beside a little boy who was carefully gluing together the wing of a broken model airplane. "Steady hands," Sebastian said with a grin. "You'll be building real planes in no time." The boy giggled. "Only if you're my co-pilot." "Deal," he said, shaking the boy's tiny hand. Anna leaned against the doorway, smiling. "You're getting good at that." He looked up, eyes warm. "At what?" "Being human." He laughed softly. "Took me long enough." She walked over and sat beside him on the floor. The boy scampered off to show his finished plane to one of the volunteers. "So," she said, "I just got word. We're fully funded for the next 3 years. That's over 200 kids we can help." He raised his eyebrows. "That's all you? I just sign checks." "Don't downplay it," she said. "You gave this place a heart." He met her gaze. "You gave it a soul." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The quiet between them was full of understanding, of loss, forgiveness, and something deeper that didn't need words. Anna stood and looked toward the glass case on the far wall. Inside sat the porcelain doll, whole again, its surface polished, its blue ribbon freshly tied. A small brass plaque beneath it read, "For Clara and Lila, proof that broken things can still be made whole." Visitors often asked why she kept it there. She always said the same thing. "Because it reminds me that some stories are worth finishing." That afternoon, the foundation hosted its anniversary event. The garden was filled with laughter, music, and the smell of barbecued corn. Donors mingled with volunteers. Children chased balloons across the grass. Anna gave a short speech under the big oak tree. "A year ago, I was a waitress trying to survive. Today, I'm standing in front of you because one person decided that the truth was worth fighting for." My mother taught me that love doesn't always look the way we expect, but it always finds a way to come home. The crowd clapped softly, some wiping tears. Sebastian stood behind her, his hands in his pockets, pride written all over his face. When she stepped down, he whispered, "You did her proud." Anna smiled, eyes glistening. "We both did." As the evening faded into twilight, she watched the children release paper lanterns into the sky, hundreds of tiny lights rising together, glowing against the dark. Sebastian came to stand beside her. "You ever think about what she'd say, if she could see this?" Anna nodded. "Yeah, she'd tell us it's about time." He chuckled quietly, and for a moment the years of regret between them dissolved into the warm hush of the night. And as the lanterns floated higher, Anna realized that the past hadn't been erased. It had simply found its place in the light. The broken doll, the missing years, the grief, all of it had led here, to a life rebuilt and a love reborn. So that's how the story ends. You're still here, aren't you, my friend? If you've stayed until now, maybe something in this story touched your heart in a quiet, unexplainable way. And maybe that's the point. It's never really about money or fame or revenge. It's about truth, forgiveness, and the courage to rebuild what life once broke. Like the Stoics used to say, what stands in the way becomes the way. Every hardship, every loss is a doorway, an invitation to grow into the person you were meant to be. Sebastian and Anna remind us that even when life shatters, the cracks can let the light in. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means finding peace with the pieces. If this story made you feel something, hope, grief, or maybe a quiet kind of strength, then share it. Pass it on. Someone out there might need to hear that it's okay to begin again, no matter how late it feels. And if you'd like to keep walking through stories like this, stories that make us remember what really matters, then like this video, share it, and subscribe. You and I, we've got a lot more healing to do together.